She's an award-winning YouTuber and best-selling author obsessed with helping you go after the life you want.
I like it.
Join her as she seeks out the stories and strategies
Give me every little detail.
of extraordinary people who found success.
I'm going to get emotional. Oh my God.
Welcome to Detail Therapy with Amy Landino.
We may not always understand what the other person is trying to do or what the scope of things are, but 100% of the times there's 100% support and backing on those ideas.
Hey there, welcome to Detail Therapy. You just heard a snippet from my chat with my husband, Vincenzo Landino. In this episode, we are talking about a highly requested topic, working together in business as a married couple. We're going to go into how we handle arguing, what we do when one of us brings an idea to the table and the other person hates it, and how to balance work with life. This is a packed episode today. Before we get into it, just to those of you who are new to the show, my name is Amy Landino and I will be your host. I'm a YouTube creator, professional speaker, best-selling author, and entrepreneur. I'm here to help you go after the life you want. So welcome. We're going to have fun. You can always find out more details about me by visiting youtube.com/AMYTV. I'm very excited to see how in demand this episode was. I've been wanting to have Vin on, but I wanted to make sure that it was something that would bring you a ton of value. And I went to my Instagram, asked you questions, asked you to provide me with questions, and you brought it. So that made this a very lively conversation that we had here at Skyfall Studios, which is Aftermark's headquarters in Columbus, Ohio. So definitely going to be a good one today, whether or not you're thinking about working with your significant other. If you are, then this will be really spectacular. If you already are, this will hopefully be helpful for you. If you're not at all, you can kind of just get an inside look as to what it's like for us to live this life that we've designed for ourselves. So we don't have a lot of time here. I just want to let you know that everything we talk about, all the resources, any tips, tricks, advice, it'll all be at detailspodcast.com. Just go to the episodes page, search for Vincenzo Landino, and it will all be there. But now I'd like to introduce you to our next guest. Vincenzo Landino is co-founder and CEO of Aftermark, a video production company headquartered in Columbus, Ohio, with experience across the board in video content marketing, from episodic campaigns to live video events. Vincenzo is an expert at helping businesses get after it with their brand storytelling. Not only is he an accomplished entrepreneur, but he is also my husband and co-founder, and I'm excited to share this conversation with you about how we balance love and business. My husband, my love, my partner.
My husband and I
are deeply touched
by the
for the welcome you've presented to us today. That's my Queen Elizabeth impression. It's been a while.
From The Crown.
I used to do it a lot better.
Because we used to watch The Crown every night.
Yes, I know. Well,
we would rewatch episodes.
You're welcome.
For
that time, that quality time. Vincenzo Landino, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Good. Why do you create video?
Because I enjoy video. I always liked movies as a kid and film, and my dad had, actually I just posted this the other day on Twitter. I had a Sharp Slim Cam. That was my first camera that I ever used, circa 1992.
Was that suitcase thing that you were trying to bring home once, and I told you you couldn't do it?
Yes, when we visited my parents.
Leave it in Connecticut.
Mm-hmm. And I used to always enjoy, I didn't like to write, so I would always make excuses for not writing essays or reports. So I always asked the teachers, can I just make a video? Can I make a movie? And they're like, no. And I was like, well, I'll really make like a real movie. It'll be good. And they're like, okay. Sure. And so I always talked my way out of having to write and make book reports or anything like that. And I would always do, movies. And so I always loved doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You still love it?
I do. I don't get to hold the camera as much anymore, but that's what I got Blake for.
Yeah.
He's much better at it than I am, though.
So how did you get back into it?
You, of course, you're far better at it than I am. So.
Yeah. But before me, you got back into video. What did that look like?
Well, what intrigued me was the growth of that whole live video phenomenon for a while.
What year are we talking about?
I don't know, 2014. The live video streaming on social media, live social video streaming. And it was intriguing because you could just do it. There was no, the threshold was very low. You would just go and do it and it disappears, or it stays there, but the expectation was lower. So it was just easy to do. I didn't need to produce anything. I could just go and sing karaoke or talk to people about whatever, or show them what the neighborhood looked like after a storm, and people were genuinely interested in that. So that's where I got back into really focusing on video only.
Nice. And then you fell in love with me. The end.
I fell in love with you because I was shooting video.
Yeah.
And you were on stage.
We ran into each other. We were introduced, first I should say, we were introduced by a dear friend of ours, Brian Fanzo. Brian Fanzo and I have also started a second podcast.
Has he been on this podcast?
No.
Oh.
Not yet. And
I'm not sure if he's very detail oriented.
He's very detail
Love you,
oriented,
Brian.
depending on the rabbit hole that you send him down, for sure. But he introduced us.
Right.
And we were both working in the video world.
Yep.
I was more YouTube, you were more live. And so kind of things have grown from there. Before we give it all away, I basically wanted to sit down with you because I thought it would be interesting to talk. And actually, my audience found it even more interesting that we talk about the
blame
fact
them.
that, yeah, you can.
Yeah.
The fact that we are married and we work together. And that's a lot of things to do as a couple, and a lot of couples don't necessarily do that. So I think the ones especially that are thinking about maybe someday they want to have their own business and they'd love to see it be a family affair, or maybe they work with their partner now, they wanted to hear how we do it, how we handle it. So I thought just to start, we could kind of explain what it means when we say we work together. What are our companies? What do they do? And all the logistics of that.
Sure.
And then I asked said friends of Detail Therapy for some questions about what they want to know specifically about this working and love relationship. So let's start with the specifics on what we do. So we both specialize in video. Aftermark is a company that we co-own together. And what does Aftermark do?
Aftermark makes video. We make video.
So what you're saying is
we make video.
Okay. So if somebody said we want to make a video on the Twitter, what would you say?
Sure. Does it have video involved? Sure, we do that. We make video.
What if somebody said I want to do a live video on Facebook?
We also do that because it's video.
What if somebody said they wanted to make a movie?
We also want to do more of that. We make video.
What if somebody said I want you to make my Instagram story look awesome with video?
We can also do that.
What if somebody said we want you to come in and be creative strategy and get on calls with us once a month just to toss around ideas? It may or may not have to do with video.
Aftermark does not do that.
Why not?
Because we make video. We actually make video. And so if having those calls doesn't lead us to making video, then we're not doing that.
I think this is really important because for us to have a good working relationship, there needs to be an abundant amount of clarity in everything that we do.
A lot of clarity.
And especially just in business in general, it has nothing to do with working with your partner. Having clarity about what you do and what your differentiator is extremely important. So that's kind of why that was a fun little Q&A.
I like the little fire away. I like the quick fire stuff. It's like, just go.
Yeah. So but I do want to give some additional clarity because I think people get confused about exactly what I do. My role at Aftermark is a founding partner.
Her founding mother.
Yeah, I'm the founding mother. We're a woman-owned business, thanks to yours truly. But Vin does a lot more of the workload on the owner side of things than I do.
Day-to-day operations.
That's right. And so he is the CEO, and I'm just sort of a co-founder. And I interact with everybody, and we work together, but it's not at the same level that Vin is with the team. So meanwhile, back at the ranch being Vlogboss Studios, which is a company that I've owned since 2009, that's where I spend the bulk of my time. So what What?
No,
Why are you
just the way
laughing
you
at
said
me?
it, you're like, meanwhile, back at the ranch, and I'm just thinking, I'm thinking to myself, like, oh,
because
man.
I'm trying to help people understand, like, okay, Amy, you do nothing.
I know,
in
my head
Aftermark,
started
so
going to like a
what
big
do you
ranch
do?
in Texas, like, oh, meanwhile, back at the ranch.
Yeah,
But anyway.
don't get excited. We're not moving to a ranch.
Sorry.
Okay. So Vlogboss Studios is where I've been working for the last 10 years. And in part, I was able to even start Aftermark with Vin because of the experience that I'd built with that. And that business has also ebbed and floated. I like to say because we just went to ebb and float the other day. I wanted to throw that in there. It's gone through a lot of iterations through that time, but it's predominantly focused on being a media company now, which means I'm pumping out a lot of content, and that content monetizes itself in a lot of different ways, and that's what sustains that business. So since that takes up a good 100% of my time, it's tough to get to 110% with Aftermark, which is why my partnership with Ben is extremely important. And I think that's
I'm just there for the
kinda like,
overflow. I'm there for that 10%.
Right.
I go 10% every day, hard.
The 10%.
I go hard.
The
on that
10% is when I'm at home and he comes home from work and he's ready to check out, and I'm not quite done yet, but he wants to talk about Aftermark. And so that's sort of my Aftermark time is what's the download? What happened today? What can I help with? But
Just give her a recap every day.
you know, I think the important thing to
Like a
point
good
out,
soldier.
the thing to point out here is that you have to clearly define roles.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think that that's helped us in all of the things that we have going on?
Well, we struggled right from the beginning because, you know, for those who don't know, I was holding the camera. You were doing the editing. We were dealing with clients. We were trying to collect money. We were invoicing. We were ideating.
This was the beginning of Aftermarket.
Sure.
2016.
You know, you were still doing what you're doing now, so that was no different. In fact, you're probably doing more at that point because the book you were
I was
planning the
writing
book.
it.
I mean, not that you're doing less, but you know, the book was a big step, so it was a big milestone. And on top of that, all of that, our relationship was newer. We weren't married at the time, so what people may or may not know, we weren't even engaged when we started the business. So it was a huge leap of faith. And we were doing so much. We got to the point where before we hired our first employee, Mr. Blake, we were literally doing everything. And that was so confusing from a sales perspective. Like, who are you guys? What do you do? People thought we just made YouTube videos, which is fine, which was also fine at the time. That we didn't, that was not a problem. But it was very difficult to sell what we were selling because we didn't even know what we were doing. I remember there were times we had conversations where it was like, okay, what am I doing today? And, I work a lot differently than you do. You've got very, clearly defined schedule every day. I don't necessarily have that unless I have meetings on the calendar. So we were having a difficult time really trying to figure out, well, when does Amy need to be with a client? When does she not? Is she literally holding a camera today? Because there were times where we did that.
Absolutely.
People don't realize that we did a lot of our own production for 8 months more plus before we started bringing on a
horrifically
team.
long period of time.
It
But
felt
it's
like
how
years.
It's how you start a company, though.
Sure.
You can't always just hire people right off the bat. And we knew that if we were going to make the most of the first clients that were really giving us a chance to get started with them, make the most of the money earned, we needed to stretch it as much as possible, not make any money on the company, put the money in a bank account and say, this needs to sit here so we can hire people at some point. Because us working together actually on set is not sustainable for multiple reasons.
No.
One, Vin and I actually in a project together do not gel well. But two, mostly because I'm stressed out that I have other things that I have going on, and it's really tough for me to give 100% of myself in all of these places. So I think that added a lot of stress, and we wanted the projects to always be amazing, but it was really tough when sometimes there were things that we weren't the best experts in that we definitely needed to hire people for so that they could make us shine in our expertise even more.
Right.
So yeah, but I think everyone goes through that. And when you decide to do that with your romantic partner, it's definitely going to add some strain. No one needs sound effects for this, Vin.
That was the soundboard. We have a soundboard.
Honestly, no. I'm watching you.
Just push the button.
You literally just kissed the microphone.
I was kissing you. I was blowing kisses at you.
Okay, so you talked about how.
But to continue it, hold on. So we didn't have those clearly. I mean, if we're being real with ourselves and the audience here, we just really clarified roles within the last year, maybe a little more.
A little bit more than that.
Like
Because
late 2017. So I guess, yeah, it is.
the beginning of 2017, I came to you and I had to have a very real conversation with you. And I was like, this isn't me still being involved in Aftermark isn't working for two reasons. One, I'm freaking out. I got things going on. And that was, the book's launching and all this stuff. And we can blame the book all day long, but it was a lot of work. And it was hopefully bringing us clients. So my best role was going to be to go to work. And two, we were bringing people on. So the dynamic of who was actually going to be in the company going forward needed to be defined quickly so that it wasn't like constant changes for them so much. It was definitely defined at that point because we needed to in a bad way. And it was like, this is what I'm willing to do. And this is what I know you need me for. And I'm going to do that to the best of my ability for as long as you need me to and as much as you need me to, because I'm good at that. And it's what I'm already doing versus, I don't come to the office every day because that's not how I get my work done. It's just not. I can't work out of this office. I come in here. It's not because of the office.
Skyfall Studios is an amazing place.
It's just that I genuinely need to be in the office more for other things pertaining to another business. So that
Sure.
The role definition was really important, and that was me saying, I can't handle this workload. I can't pretend like I can handle this workload, and I'm also not letting you shine. That was the other big reason. You're the owner of the company. You have too many cooks in the kitchen. Everyone is confused. Clients, brand, employees, ourselves, everyone's confused. So I think that we took it a lot more seriously at the beginning of last year. Or sorry, I said 2017. I meant 2018.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I keep forgetting that 2018 was an entire
2018.
Or early 2018 was an entire year.
All of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but you did mention that you work very differently than me. So let's get into some specifics about your workflow. Do you have a morning routine?
I don't define it as a morning routine.
Well, walk me through your morning.
But I do.
As if I don't know what it is.
Well, I get up and I usually...
How exactly do you get up?
I turn over a couple times, usually grab my phone, check whatever's come through overnight, which is probably the worst thing to do, but I do it.
I don't know if you've heard of this amazing YouTube channel. It's called youtube.com/AMYTV.
Never heard of it.
They talk about this.
Yeah, you tuck your phone into bed. I get it. I know.
Not in my own bed.
No, you tuck your phone in its own little bed in your office, and that's great. Doesn't work for me. I mean, it probably...
Have you tried it?
No.
Okay.
It probably would work for me, but... so I get up, I do that, I go to the bathroom, I take my vitamins and whatever I have to take in the morning, and we usually have coffee.
We do.
That will last anywhere.
Just for the record, what is your alarm clock?
My alarm clock is you. But let's be real for 5 seconds here.
Please do.
We have come to an agreement.
Have we? Okay, go ahead.
We have come to an agreement. Amy is very, very fond of her morning pages, her morning meditation, and her hour in the morning that she has to herself.
A little more than that, but yes.
So instead of us getting up together, now...
Which I would freak out if I had to do. Because I just need quiet time.
So am I not the loving husband that allows her the extra hour by herself and selfishly the extra hour for myself in bed?
Wow.
Not a bad idea.
What a man.
Now, I do go to bed later than you do.
Yes, you do. You need the sleep.
So I need to sleep. So I stay an extra hour. But that extra hour, let's be real, people, is not Vin sleeps in till 9 o'clock. It's Vin sleeps in, quote unquote, till 6:15.
You're not a teenager.
Right.
I married you. So you're not
so then I get up.
The level of productivity has to be at a certain...
There's got to be some productivity. So right around 6:15, my morning will start. We have coffee. Around that time, we try to just talk, to each other about whatever it is.
A little bit of shop. Just get the vocal cords and brains moving in
Very
the business
little
direction.
Yeah, very little business. Mostly
It's more just you sitting on the other side of my desk at Vlogbus Studios, which is the second bedroom in our apartment, and you're on your
Accurate.
phone and you're on your computer. I'm just starting to check on some things, and I'm working
Right.
on my preliminary things. For
and then
the
we
day.
go and then we work out together. Then we work out together. When we're done, come home, shower, and then I come into the office.
Yeah, and usually I'm hiding from Vin's cell phone because he's always Instagramming that he's at the gym, and I hate when people Instagram me.
Yeah, you know what? I've been getting a lot of messages lately, and people are like, every time you work out and you say like, did you work out today? It's a reminder. I've gotten 3 or 4 people in the last 2 days that are like, thanks for reminding me in the morning to work out. And I was like, man, I'm inspirational.
Look at
I'm like,
you.
I'm like the next Tony Robbins.
You're like an accountability influencer.
Hire me.
For what?
I don't know. Accountability. Get up at 6:15. I mean, 6:15 is still solid. And it ain't no Jocko Willnick, 4:30, but
Who's Jocko Willnick?
Jocko is a former U.S. Navy SEAL who wrote the book Extreme Ownership.
Did
And
you
he
read
gets
it?
up every morning at 4:30 and takes a picture of his watch. Sometimes it's 3:30.
Okay, so are you saying that I have to start taking pictures of my watch when I wake up early to prove that I'm waking up early?
Do it.
Is that a real thing?
You should do it. That should be your challenge for the next 30 days.
I mean, I can do that because
Yeah.
it's just an extra thing I have to add to my routine.
Do it. Tweet the watch face picture with like some crazy quote.
Should I just
like,
always tag this guy?
always tag Jocko.
You know what?
And just be like,
I just can't get on board with that.
work. Or just, I don't know, something. Get up.
Actually, it'd be more like I'm about to meditate.
This is true. This is true. About to go work on my morning pages.
Okay, so what is the rest of your day workflow like? You get to the office after I've made you breakfast,
Yep.
and then
I get
what?
breakfast made for me. This is true. Then I
Poor
come
thing.
to the office. I work with the guys. We get stuff done, and then that's it. I mean, the day really. My days are. I don't like a.
But how do you?
fully
How
scheduled.
are you guided throughout the day on what your workflow is? Is it calendar based? Is it email based? Is it, does the team tell you what's going on? Like
I used to be very tied to the email, so it was whatever was coming in would be that was the focus. But I'm learning continually to not allow the email to dictate the day. Mm-hmm. But because I'm still very customer facing, I would be lying to say that it doesn't change things sometimes throughout the day. So depending on what our workload is, so like we had a slower January, which is very normal.
Yeah, we take that and love
So
it.
things
Every
things
time.
change. Now like February and March and April are starting to are actually jammed up
Insane.
almost every week. Like I'm looking at the calendar now. That's more of my Bible, right? Like I look at our production calendar. I look at things I kind of go by quarter.
Okay.
So like, let's look at the quarter. Where are we at? Mm-hmm. For me, I like to work that way. Let me work at a high level. Let me, kind of like an offensive or defensive coordinator in football or a coach where I'm going to look at it from the top, what's going on, and then what do we need to do to make things happen? Like, what adjustments do we need to make? Do we need to make an adjustment? Maybe it is something that comes up and has to be done right in the moment. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's like, okay, that can wait till whenever, it's a client that needs us for something, but it's not pressing. Well, then I just direct the team, like, we'll handle it, but it doesn't have to be right this second. Mm-hmm. And learning to create those barriers with customers, clients, amongst the team, even just, where work is being delegated amongst the team is important. Like how that works. Not just saying, okay, just stop everything you're doing. And I know Rich is listening to us as we podcast this, and he's like, what the hell are you talking about? He's like, I got stuff to do. You're always giving me stuff to do, new stuff to do. But thanks, Rich. And I also can't hear you if you responded, so thank you.
He's great. He's just looking at you like, okay, good, all right.
No, but really, that's the way I try to allow the day to flow. Now, for me, like a day things will pop up, errands, appointments, but that's the beauty of the life that I've built, right? Is that I can go and do things. I've been trying to take more meetings in the community with people that I meet, whether it's online or through others, and this allows me to do it that way. If I was just tied to a calendar, this is at least the way I look at it. If I was tied to I've jammed my days up with a calendar. It wouldn't allow me the freedom to go and network as freely as I can or want to. And it's something that we're working on even internally, you know, in the studio, of everybody being able to get out and have that opportunity to go and meet new people, new creatives, new business folks, whoever, it doesn't matter, and make more of an impact in our local area. So that's why I don't like to work on a calendar basis. Now, obviously, like, we're going to Italy for 3 weeks. Well, that's on the calendar. I have to work that way. Or, you know, we're going here, there, wherever we're doing for projects. Those are calendar based. But my day to day, I don't like to work that way.
But at the end of the day now, you come home,
Sure.
we check out and have some
Checkout is
dinner.
very relative.
Oh, yes, that's fair.
For those
Okay,
listening, like,
all right.
checking out is never fully like, we're
I guess
done.
what I mean is that I leave my office, which is the second bedroom, so that I can
She
start.
walks out of the office and
That's a
doesn't go
big-
back in there.
No, that's not true, obviously. But it is like, okay, when I leave and I start to like work toward what are we gonna have for dinner tonight, that's me checking out of work. Like, I'm clocking out. Because
And you
I'm
need
at
that, though.
least trying to respect the fact that you're coming home and home is home for you for the most part. And you're going to treat it like home when you get home from work.
Right.
And so if I'm super immersed in a project working, it just like there's friction that can happen there. So I try not to work into the evening as much as possible. But when we do get to a point where we're sitting on the couch watching TV, like, we're both on our phones and our computers and doing things that just tasks that maybe we wish we would have gotten to that day. It just depends on the urgency of it, but we really do try to just relax.
Which may sound very mundane and terrible to a lot of people because they're like, "Oh, why would you want to?"
I don't want
I genuinely,
to.
I don't know. I genuinely love what we do and what I do every day. So, you know, there's times where it's like the weekend comes and when there's slower weekends where maybe like it's crappy weather out, we're not doing anything. I'm just like, man, I can't wait for Monday to come because I really enjoy the activity of dealing with clients and taking meetings and being around the team. Like, I enjoy that. So even coming home, like, I still enjoy doing research and reading articles and trying to inspire myself, trying to get more well-versed in other things that I maybe didn't have time to do during the day. And so I use that time. Yeah, maybe we'll throw a TV series on or we're, something else, but I do enjoy to have that as well.
I'm with you, but I think when I say I don't want to do it, like, I wish I would have actually had the half-hour block to get to email during the day. But my day's jammed with so many things that I've already had planned. I don't even get to email.
So the calendar, being slave to the damn calendar.
Yeah,
again.
I know. I'm still slave to it, but email takes a back seat anytime I'm not done
Sure,
with something that's actually going to move the
And
needle.
I think that's the life. I respect that, that you have the ability to do that. Like, that's awesome. Sometimes I wish I had the ability to be like, I'm going to turn this app on just for a half an hour. And then when that timer's off, I will turn it off and not look at it again until my next, calendar appointment with that app or with that tool or whatever it is comes up. Like, but I just can't function that way.
Yeah, to each their own.
Which is why I love you, because
But we
You
do
helped me.
have a new rule.
you saved me.
We have one new rule that I'm going to talk about before I open up some
Wait,
questions.
do I know
here.
about this rule?
Yeah, you do.
Oh.
We've loosely called it 9 to 9, but that's not realistic because we start talking so early in the morning. But 9 p.m. is my cutoff for talking about work, which I actually think is very late. I would prefer it to be like 8 o'clock, but I don't think it's
You're in
just-
bed by
it-
9.
No, that's not true. I really haven't. I wish I was in bed by 9. I would live for it. But you're always like, can we watch another episode of Mrs. Maisel? And I'm like, okay, fine.
That's
Definitely.
Mrs. Maisel is the new
I'm
thing.
moving
we watched
to
that.
bed. I'm moving toward bed by 9:30, and I'm really getting settled. But I haven't been going to sleep till 10:30, which kind of breaks my heart. But that's 7 hours of sleep if I'm up at 5:30. I'd prefer to be up at 5, but it's been 5:30, so I can make sure to get that 7 hours. But that's really important to me because I don't like to go to bed with, I don't want to say negative thoughts, but I don't want my head spinning before I go to bed. That's counterproductive to trying to go to sleep. And so whether we're positively talking about work or negatively talking about work, it doesn't matter. You have to deal with both.
Sure.
It's really, really important to me that I can start to wind down the whole thing and read a book and absorb somebody else's ideas, which is what I would prefer to be doing, is just get some good advice, something that I can take it or leave it, and then go to sleep instead of stressing out about the next thing. We need to manage our time better, which is why we have that rule now. so that we're not talking about things and it's like, ugh. The worst thing ever is when it's like, okay, let's go to bed at the same time, but then we just like keep talking about work in bed. That's the last thing I want to do. I'd rather have a TV in our bedroom than be doing that.
I actually love the fact that we don't have a TV in our bedroom.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I hate
We just need a bigger
the
bed.
idea of it. We need a much bigger bed. You take up too much space.
I
All right,
do.
so let's get into some questions.
Pretty much.
Life of Alyssa Brienne said, what do you do when one of you has an idea you love, but the other thinks it is a bad idea?
This is fantastic. Do not cut out my laughter.
I have no intention
That was
of cutting out.
genuine laughter. So let's just put it this way. 99% of the time, actually not even 90%, I have ideas all the time. So there's always things flying out of my mouth constantly. The look I get on Amy's face 99% of the time, 99.9% of the time is like, why are you even asking? Why are you even discussing this with me? Either because she just doesn't get what I'm trying to say, not because I'm not calling her dumb, I'm not calling you dumb. I'm saying you just don't get it because I don't usually flesh it out very much.
And my face isn't calling you dumb either. I'm just genuinely asking.
Or
what
she
in the
just,
world we're talking
or
about.
she just genuinely is like, don't you know how I function? I have a calendar. Like I don't have time for more ideas or more things to do.
I don't mean to look at you like I don't want to hear your ideas. I think sometimes I've just gotten to a point where I've had so much of my day happen already and I don't know if I can handle what's happening. I try not to let my face start to display my feelings on that, if I'm being honest with you, because I don't want you to feel like that. And I hope you agree that anytime you do bring me an idea, I support you 100%. If it's something you believe in and you want to stick with and you want to do it and you want to test it out, I don't usually shut down ideas. The only thing that I tend to get a little bit weird about is if people start telling me how to do things that I already do, or people start telling me how to do things in like the business that they're not working in. But that's not necessarily that I'm shooting down ideas. It takes a lot for me to take certain criticisms. So it depends on how close to home it is, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you've got the way you like to do things, and I've got obviously the way I want to do things. So it's just sometimes they don't gel. And I mean, the idea thing is something you have to be in the right, I want to say frame of mind for ideas to just flow out like that. So oftentimes when I'm bringing them to you, it's probably the worst possible time of the day to be doing that, right? Like,
yeah, that is tough.
the stresses of the day are all there, but you know, I run at 100%, 100 miles an hour, pretty much 24 hours a day. So like, I don't have that ramp down and ramp up time. So like for me, my mind is whenever the idea strikes, I bring it up. And so,
and that's a thing,
but
that
it
I'm
is,
just
it is
learning to
probably
balance.
terrible time of the day for most people, not just you. It would be a bad idea. Like there's a reason why, you know, banks are closed at 5 o'clock or whatever. Like they're not going to do business after that. Or there's like, you know, people aren't going to listen to your ideas after a certain time. I get that. So,
but it's not fair for me to say like I don't have ideas after 5 o'clock either. Like I'm sure I've brought something to your attention. Like, what do you think about this? It's not, it has to go both ways.
it goes both ways,
which is why I can't be like too shutting down of a person. Like that's why I said 9 o'clock.
Well,
is
I
our
didn't say
time.
you shut down ideas. I said that you just often don't understand the ideas, and I think it goes both ways, right? Even when you bring ideas to me,
Mm-hmm.
I don't always fully understand why you want to do them that way, and I would do them differently or something like that. We usually settle on, I will support you 100%, and I think that's what we should focus on with the answer here to that question is, we may not always understand what the other person is trying to do or what the scope of things are, but 100% of the times there's 100% support and backing on those ideas.
Yeah,
which is the most important thing in trying to work together while you're married or, you know, and whatnot.
But I guess to more directly answer this question, I think we're just talking about the concept of like sharing ideas with each other and not always having reception or whatever. But if it's somebody loves an idea and somebody else thinks it's a bad idea, I think it comes down to if somebody loves an idea so much that they're going to do the work to prove it's a good idea, or at least try to see if it's a good idea, that's why we 100% support each other.
Sure.
Because neither one of us sits here and says that we know that an idea is a terrible one. If you can prove otherwise, we welcome that. So
I'm
I think
sure I've had some pretty crappy ideas.
Oh, I'm sure of it too, but I let you play it out. Oh, Black Mud Rosty said, how do you communicate better if the other person is stubborn?
I mean, I'm as stubborn as they come. You know, we just read a book recently about how to win friends and influence people. And one of the biggest things is pushing your agenda or pushing your ideas is not always the way to get somebody to accept them, right? And so when there are times where we take a really hard stand on something, the critical aspect there is not to just keep pushing. I'm still learning that, because oftentimes I like to just push and muscle my way through that stubborn wall, where that's not the best way to do it. And there's times where I'm able to help you see an idea, or vice versa. Like we talk each other through it. And those are the times when oftentimes the person who brought the concept or the idea learns more about it than the person that was supposed to be just listening, because now they actually have to explain the idea to somebody. So it always helps to use finesse. It always helps to not just try to run through a wall, because you're not going to get anywhere if you're just telling someone else they're wrong, or if you're just telling somebody else, telling your partner, well, you don't understand my idea, like you suck. I mean, and I've probably used those words in the past, which is awful, but I have, right? Like it's happened, right? But sometimes you're so caught up in your own mind that you don't really look at what you're saying. And so when you have to explain it to somebody, when you have to at least try to help them grasp the concept that you're trying to throw at them, almost all the time it's like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, I just learned something about what I was talking about. So I know that you and I we've made a conscious effort to listen to the other person and not try to be as stubborn with ideas, but also we've pushed back on the other to, hey, you really got to give me the details here. You can't just try and give me the
high level.
I don't understand what you're coming, what are you coming with? What are you coming to me with? If I don't understand it, I haven't been around you all day, so now I don't get what you're coming at. Mm-hmm. I haven't listened to all your conversations all day long. So understanding how the other person is listening has been really, really important.
Definitely. That's a good answer. I totally agree. Sidorica ST said, how do you shift from being casual and enjoying your time together to actually working? Oh, actually.
I don't think we have a problem with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if
we don't really have an issue with that. I mean, and not that she asked if we had an issue. She said how. So we'll give you an answer. But we've never really had a challenge.
I think we do kind of present it. Let's say it's the weekend and we've tried to make a conscious effort. We're not going to work or do anything. If something comes up and we're like, oh my gosh, sorry for the sidebar, but I really want to talk to you about something that has to do with work. We do know when we're trying to be in one mode and not another, and then we try to introduce that other mode, because it's just how life it is. It's messy that way. It's not like there's this perfect line. And as much as it sounds like I'm trying to follow a perfect line of calendar blocks in my life, I'd love to, but I know it's not realistic, but that's why they're there in the first place. So I think just like with anything else, if that's my habit with calendar blocking, the habit of us knowing when is the time and when is not the time allows us to take those liberties where we have to slide in and out of conversations that may not be great for that moment, but we have to deal with it because this is our life. If we don't run these businesses, if we don't profit, if we don't, sign paychecks, that's on us. There's nobody else that can take responsibility for that. Yep. So it's not as easy as clocking in and clocking out from 9 to 5, which is why it's just going to be natural for that to happen.
Yeah. I mean, there's no how. It's kind of like it either happens or it doesn't. But for us, we try to have loose guidelines, like, okay, now's our time we're going to go watch Hamilton this weekend or whatever, go out to dinner. We're going to go do that. We have our own plans, but we also understand that it's not like, no, you cannot speak about business while we're sitting there. Or you can't speak about something, that would make it awful, because then it would kind of squash
that
openness. So oftentimes we have we have to discuss something, we do. We get it out of the way, and that's it. Like we get to the point, and that's it. But how do we actually go from that is planning. So that's where I'll say planning is great, because yes, we plan time to ourselves. So every night we know what our plan is. Every weekend we know we have things to do, or night, on evenings where we want to go out, we make plans to do that. And that's how we turn off that physical, like work mode. Like that's the only way for us really to turn it off, is to physically leave the home, because for you, it's also your office. So like we need to get out of there.
Definitely.
And that works the best for us.
Yeah, and I think what's funny about all of this, and it kind of goes to Melissa's question. Melissa Crone-Carville said, what is the best part of working together? I think the reason that we grapple with all of this stuff is that the best part of our relationship is that we also work together, which means that we get each other on a level that is not, I'm sorry, let me rephrase. Not the best part of our relationship, just that's a major, to me, that's a major perk of the relationship. That I actually am with somebody that gets me on a completely different level than anyone else in the world would, because you're so immersed in what I'm thinking about all day long, the ins and outs of what I do and who I am and what value I provide. It's so a part of just like the fiber of my being. It's who I am, personal or work related. I think having that connection with our work and an appreciation for what the other person has to do in that work, it improves the relationship. It may add more conflict, but everybody has conflict in a relationship. It's not like there's always going to be friction on something. I feel fortunate that the friction between us is not, you clearly don't understand my job and what I have to do, and so
we both come out of relationships where we did have that friction.
Yeah.
Where people didn't understand, especially when you're going into business for yourself, or you're trying to be an entrepreneur, you're trying to have, own your own business, whatever it is, like people, your family is usually the ones that give you the hardest time. People don't support you. It's very difficult. I mean, that we could have a whole other episode or two about that aspect of it, the journey of, I still get phone calls from my mom. I love her. Love you, Mom. But I still get phone calls like, are you making money? Like, is business okay? And it's like, business is great. Oh, okay. They still don't get it. I'm lucky to have a father who's an entrepreneur, so he gets it. But like, there's still people that push back on you. They think you're, as you like to say, running a popsicle stand, because you're not going to work every day.
Yeah, that's my joke when I feel like people aren't taking me seriously.
Right, just taking your business seriously.
Just running my popsicle stand over here.
Having that partner in your corner makes it just, there's no reward greater than that. Knowing that when you go home at night, someone gets why you're doing what you're doing. They understand why you're taking 20 out of the 31 days on the road, or they understand why you're taking late night calls, or, working on the weekends. Like, they get that. That's so important. And it's probably not talked about as much as it should be. Having that, like, yes, there's a lot of friction, but there's also a lot that it helps with.
The thing is, the friction that we have to deal with is friction that is only going to make our lives that much better, because we're talking about things that give us a ton of freedom and a ton of flexibility in our lives. That's another big piece of this, is we do a lot of traveling together just naturally as a part of both businesses. We also do a lot of traveling not together, just as a part of both businesses.
Which is healthy
as well.
too.
It really is. It's built in. You can have alone time when I'm gone, and vice versa. Or we travel together, we see a new place we've never been before, and we get to do that together, and we get paid to do it. That's awesome. And not to mention, this summer we have 2 family vacations to go on.
2. I just found out about the second one.
Well, okay.
I just found out about the second one.
3 weeks in Italy. Okay, let's see. Whose family's doing 3 weeks in Italy? That's yours.
That's mine.
My family maybe wants to go somewhere for 6 or 7 days. but they both want to go in the month of June.
I want to go.
I know you do.
I'm going to be tan instead of this Ohio white.
You're really good at complaining about things you actually are excited for. This I know.
Usually when I complain about things, I really want to do them, or I really am excited about them.
I know. Yeah. This is what I know about you. When you raise your voice and you get frustrated and you get loud, it's usually because something good is happening.
Right.
When something really bad is happening, you're actually quite the crisis.
I'm very calm.
The crisis manager. But what I'm saying is, for us to take probably what's going to look like 4 weeks out of the office. I'm not going to say off work. In Italy, it's going to be off work, I think. But
yes.
4 weeks out of the office, that is only something we could do if we were building a business together. If I told you to take 4 weeks off work because I wanted to travel the world with my family or anything otherwise, and you had a regular job and I didn't,
my
that
cousins,
would suck.
this happens to my cousins. Like Sophia is a teacher, so she has the summers off. And her family's in Greece.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Joey can only take, her husband can only take a week or two, if that, and and he's using a pretty good chunk of his time to go, and he'll come back home. My cousin Joey will come back home, and Sophia will stay in Greece for longer because she can. It's like she's off for the summer, and we don't have to do that, which is cool. Which is really cool.
It's one of those things. It's like when you talk about going after the life that you want, like I would not have our relationship be any other way. I think we deal with problems that other people don't have to deal with, but there are some people dealing with way worse than what we have to. And so I think keeping that perspective is super important. Okay, I feel like we talked about this, but everybody asked the same question pretty much in here. And it is, how do you separate life and work?
We've built a life that is part of it, so it naturally blends.
Mm-hmm. And it's understanding that it's not separate. It's just two features of our life,
exactly,
personal and work, and they blend together a lot. And that's the way we've designed our work. And if we didn't want it that way and we wanted to separate life and work, we could just go work for the man somewhere from 9 to 5, clock in and clock out, and not give a crap what we're doing.
A perfect example is, we've gone to London for you to speak before, and we took extra time to stay in a city that we both love. We knocked kind of two birds out in one stone. We are going to Vegas again. We've been there numerous times, but we're going again with Adobe, and it's a city that we love, but we're doing it together. Adobe's brought us both in to do some work. Like, cool, we have to do some work during the day, but we were going to work at home anyway. So what does it matter? Like, now we get to go, we get to be in Vegas, and we have our evenings together. You know what I mean? Like, it's not about separate. I think people focus too much on separating business
black and white,
or personal life or romantic relationships with business. I'm not saying that everyone has the opportunity to blend them like we do, but that's what we have done. We've built a life that we can. They're one and the same to me, right? It doesn't mean that our relationship is any less. It just means that it's one and the same. So our relationship also has a lot to do with our business, or our business has a lot to do with our relationship. I don't know. Is it the right thing to do? Who the hell knows? We'll find out. I love the way it's going, right? We support each other. And I think that as long as we are focused on supporting one another, open communication, and, still making time for one another personally when we can, not when we can, we do make it all the time, as much as we can.
Yeah.
We don't have to make that distinction. We don't have to. It's not like we're ignoring each other because of the business.
Yeah, I do want to throw in
sometimes, finance folks, or you hear about it a lot in different industries. Like, I had a friend who worked in finance. He was some trader guy, and he was pretty much up at 4 a.m., going to the city, didn't get home till, midnight, whatever. I've got cousins and family that are cops. I've got friends that are cops. Like, you can take this and look at any industry or any job and be like, oh, you don't spend, when do you make a distinction? I mean, it can go anywhere. And so we spend more time with each other, owning our own business and being super busy and getting to travel the world, and people think it's really cool, more than folks that have normal jobs, and they come home and they get to see each other every night, but they don't actually spend time with it. You know what I mean? Like, so you could look at that from any angle and make an excuse, or you can look at it from any angle and see the silver lining. I choose to see the silver lining because there's so much. It's not even silver, it's platinum. It's Platinum lining.
Platinum lining. I want to say something a little controversial, but I have gotten.
Please do.
I've gotten this question in a YouTube video before. When do you make time to make love to your husband when you calendar block your whole life?
This is kind of awkward because we're in the studio and everyone's here. So if you guys want to walk out or put your headphones on.
They don't have to walk out. It's a very brief answer.
You can just listen to the episode.
It's a very brief answer. And it's funny. I was just interviewed by my friend Matt Kimberly the other day, and this came up. And here's the thing. Like, first of all, it's not anyone's business, but
yes, it is.
It's also
business.
like
everyone
totally fine. It's totally fine without giving a lot of specific answer there, because that's not the kind of girl that I am. But what I know is
I'm totally that kind of guy, though.
We have things like this in our life: productivity, efficiency, guidelines that help us get more done so that we can take certain liberties throughout the day and allow spontaneity to happen.
We showed up at 10 o'clock today in the office. There's good reason for it. I mean,
yeah, no, he's totally
I'm totally
lying.
actually lying
He's
about that right now.
Lying today.
I actually remember that person. I remember somebody had commented on one of your YouTube videos, and I just laughed to myself. I'm like, no, we don't schedule it. There's plenty of time for spontaneity in the bedroom.
There is. Okay, so moving on. I just wanted to touch that because
Wait, we didn't actually answer the question.
No,
though.
we did.
Oh.
I said I did. You weren't listening. Here's another good one. The entrepreneur dad said, "Do you check with each other before agreeing to gigs that require travel?"
Not really. We really don't. Hold on. I'm interpreting it as like, is it okay if I do?
No, it's not.
We don't. So I'll say this. I'll answer it the way I interpret it, and then you answer it the way you interpret it. I think, no, I don't check with you when we take gigs, but I also know that you're not going to be like, oh my God, we can't go there. Like, right? Am I?
I have no idea how you're summing this up, but I would just say that it's like when a gig comes in, it's not like it happens like that. Like things have to happen, contracts have to get signed, money has to come in. So it's sort of like, hey, just so you know, we're probably going to South by Southwest. Okay, cool. It's not it's not an approval process.
Right.
I'm saying, yes, we do check with each other. Like Vin's going to say, oh, I wonder if Amy can go. I'm going to ask Meg to check her calendar. It's one of those things.
I think there's such open
logistics.
I think there's such open communication that I don't feel like we're ever checking with each other. Because I know what you're up to. You know what we're up to.
I think you're just interpreting check as in approval.
Yeah.
And I don't read it as approval. I'm just reading it as like, do we check with each other? Or is it like, hey, by the way, I'm going to Boston tomorrow. See you later. Like that doesn't happen ever.
No.
It just doesn't, because we just talk about what we're doing all the time to each other.
I would say it's not an approval process. It's more of just like, hey, heads up, this was on the calendar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, and ideally we're also talking to each other about it, because if it's something that both of us can go to, we prefer it that way. If it makes sense, if I'm not going somewhere for 12 to 24 hours, I'd, like to bring him with me and take the opportunity to spend the time.
Right.
So,
yeah, we try to, and we always, and that's another thing. We look at every travel opportunity as, how can we make this? How can we turn this to a couple extra days in a new place?
Or just one extra bonus fun activity.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And so it ends up being like a prize, it's like, oh, hey, we're going to go to Austin, and I've never been to Austin. So it'll be like, do you want to go? Or it's more of that. So yeah, anyway, that's answering that question.
I really like this question from Franzi Debbie. Do you ever fight? And how do you handle that so that it doesn't infect your professional work?
Depending on how much she edits this podcast.
I don't edit my podcast. Thank you very much.
I mean, yes, I all the time. All the time.
Yeah, we fight all the time. But how do we not let it affect our work?
I think that we try to come to agreements, or we try to settle our differences as soon as possible.
Yeah.
I am not one to allow things to linger super long.
No, you're not.
I really am not. Like, for me,
that's fair.
This is the way I fight. I let it all out, and then it's like 2 seconds later,
he's like, we're fine, right?
Let's just sit down and, like, hey, do you want this wine or this glass of wine? Like, it's literally that for me, because it's not like I'm fighting. It's just like, I'm feeling like I'm not being heard, or I feel like I'm not being understood, and I just need to exert that energy. And unfortunately, it comes out in a fight. But then I'm done. I mean, listen, and it's not just with you. This happens with even the folk, the guys around us, our team. Like, there's times where it's like, this is what it is. But then at the next minute, hey, you want to grab coffee? Like, it's not. I don't hold on to things.
Right.
I really don't.
Well, the issue with that is that when you fight with your wife, it's a little different. I would argue that men argue differently than a man and a woman argue, but you tend to kind of lay it all out, and we're both trying to be heard and we're both trying to be right. And so we waste a lot of time on that. And I actually just talked about this with Sarah in episode 15 about trying to be right and trying to convince your significant other you're right. And it's never worth it in the end, because even if you're right, it sucked on the way there. Just like nothing is good about it.
What did you just say the other day? I think you just said it. No matter whenever you fight, you're both wrong. There's no one's ever right in a fight or something like that.
Just because you're right doesn't mean somebody else has to be wrong. Or if somebody else is wrong, doesn't mean you have to be right. So you can hear somebody being wrong and let it go, or you can hear someone being wrong and decide to take it on and convince them why they're right. And all you're doing is taking away any positive feelings between you and bringing them down a notch. And that doesn't do anything for anybody. So as much as we're trying to learn that, not just between each other, but in every way, shape, or form, we do this like human beings do. And then
often
we're like, okay, but literally, by the way, we were trying to get to the same result.
Yeah,
Every single time we're like,
absolutely.
we want the same exact thing here. And we just wanted to come to it in different ways. And those specifics will never and do not matter. Unfortunately.
No. Well, I mean,
most of the time they don't.
Most of the time, by the time we're done fighting, quote unquote, done fighting, like we don't even realize what we were started.
It's just like, what did we even say? It's
but
so
we will always, if it's in the evening or something, we will always make sure that we don't go to bed where it's like it's lingering over our head. Even if it's something where it's like we're not done with this conversation, like we don't, that anger and that hatred or whatever it is, I don't want to say hatred, that, that feeling.
Animosity,
like, yeah. We try to flush that out, like right away.
Yeah, because like I said, I don't like to go to bed with my head spinning, and negativity is a really great way to make me not sleep and just be in my own head about the fact that now I have unresolved issues.
And I think we learned that because we when we started dating, we were long distance, right? So when we did have disagreements, we had to
work it out.
Either stew on them, right, or get rid of them. So that's translated into our relationship, now where we're still holding those values. Like I don't want to go to bed and be mad at this person because I love this person. I love her. I don't want to be upset at her all day long or whatever it is, or tonight while I'm going to bed and get a shitty night's sleep and then have to look at her in the morning and be like, I'm still mad. There's no reason for it. 99% of the time, actually, you know what? 100% of the time, there's no reason for it.
100% of the time, there's no reason for it. And even if there's the off time that we just like cannot come to an agreement at the end of the day and we go to sleep, the next day, I believe this in my heart because it works for me every time. If you sleep on something, you get perspective on it super fast. The next morning, I usually feel a lot better or a lot more in a different standpoint in my mind that I want to just profusely apologize and take everything back, no matter what I actually think is right or wrong. Okay, I want to take this as the last question because I don't want to end on arguing, but I think this is a good one. I'm sorry, what's the name? Okay. Ale. We'll call him Ale. Do you have...
Pilsner.
It's not Pilsner. It's Pabon P. Do you have any ritual to de-stress together from work pressure? I don't know if I would call it a ritual. I think we like to try new things. We were super into like going to a hydration place for a little while, and we were getting IVs
We've done a lot of things. We've tried a lot of things.
Yeah. We just went to a place, I mentioned it earlier, Ebb and Float, where we did...
Which is not planned, by the way. We just totally...
No, I know. It's totally yeah, it's just part of our lives. We each floated in separate float tanks for 60 minutes and just de-stressed, and that was one of my favorite things that we've done lately.
I mean, we've done massage and cupping therapy. We've done, like you said, the hydration. We did that for a while. The IV hydration, ebb and flow. I'm trying to think what other.
I love to do couples massages, but it doesn't happen as much as I would like because I just try
we
to
work
get
out
in
every
there.
morning.
Yeah, that's a big
that's a de-stressor, and we do it together. We've actually learned that doing it together is more enjoyable than doing it alone. Like I actually, even if we're not doing the exact same thing, like just being near each other while we're working out is a lot of fun. Yoga. We don't do it often, but that's something I want to start. I know that you enjoy.
Yeah, you're starting to
Trying to think
into
back
that.
of like all the other things we've done. I mean, when the weather's nicer out, we go for walks, and so those are always really good.
You know, Lucy's our built-in de-stressor. Actually, she's also a built-in stressor for me.
For you, she
But-
doesn't stress me out at all.
Bull crap. She stresses you out sometimes.
Sometimes,
Okay?
just a little bit.
I'm just gonna be
When she's
honest.
asking for food, she's like flipping the bowl over. Like
She's rowdy. She is
not
rowdy.
rowdy. She's 15
But
years old.
she's
She's not rowdy.
also the most precious thing. And I think we just both laugh so much whenever we're like giving her a belly rub or whatever.
She is.
She's the built-in de-stressor.
She's a built-in de-stressor.
Well,
That's it? No more questions?
That was no, there's a bunch of questions, but we don't have time. We just don't have time. I'm going to have you back. Like, I just can't sit here and talk to you all day. I do that anyway. It's my entire existence.
Okay.
So next time, more questions, more talk. I'd love to hear from people on Twitter what they thought of this episode, if there was anything we didn't get into that they want to know, or if there's something else that they want to learn about Vincenzo. Tweet that to us. Use the hashtag Detail Therapy. And where can they tweet you directly or follow you on Instagram?
Instagram at, I don't know why people, I don't know why we still say that. Instagram, the Vincenzo Landino. The Ohio State University.
Yeah.
It's the Vincenzo Landino.
How cute.
I know. I've become so Columbus. It's so weird.
And Twitter?
Oh, Vincenzo Landino on Twitter.
Well, everybody, you can follow Vin. And if you totally don't know how to spell his name or don't remember anything he just said, it's in the show notes at detailspodcast.com. Vin,
Yo.
what does it mean to you to go after the life that you want?
It means having the freedom and ability to do what I want when I want. Something I guess this is something I say all the time, but knowing that, and I don't know if this is the answer, but knowing that what I do every day has a direct impact on, my life and other lives, like motivates me and fuels me. Knowing that like we have a team around us and being able to, like, I'm the catalyst for that. I love that. And I think someone had told me this years ago and said, like, put it this way. It's like, you eat what you kill, like that's like being out in the wilderness, you eat what you kill type thing. Whatever you can hunt, that's all you have. So being able to do that really, really motivates me every day, drives me every day. And that's the life I want.
Thanks for being on the show, Vincenzo Landino. Husband, love
Blue
of
kisses
my life.
again. That was a soundboard.
That was not the soundboard.
No, I swear. Blake put it into
There
the soundboard.
is no soundboard.
Yes, there is. That's a soundboard.
Okay, thanks.
Fine.
Oh,
All right, let's catch the details from this conversation. First, don't put your relationship down for not completely separating life and work. Life happens. That's why it's called life. And so if you think you're going to be able to draw the line, just like in any relationship, it's going to be much more difficult and not realistic if you're in business together. Be okay with it, sit in it, make the most of it, and make the boundaries when needed. Make time for each other personally and respect each other professionally. So if someone has time that they need to spend on something, just communicate it. This is the most important thing that Vin and I do. I have to just be real with him sometimes and say, hey, I'm doing this right now, and so I can't talk about other things. I have to focus. And he has come to understand that I am very much a compartmentalizer. I am not a multitasker, and he will help me in those situations and take a break from whatever he wants to talk about, and vice versa. I respect his time personally and professionally, and if we don't have that, we don't have much to go off of. So hopefully that's helpful for you. Remember that ideas come and go at any time of day. Listen and process the information, even if you feel like you're not in the headspace for it. This helps us a lot to not give an impression that we don't like an idea just because we're not fully in our brain about processing an idea. So oftentimes just listening, literally just listening will do the trick. Let someone talk through their idea. Let someone present it to you in the best way possible. It's a good challenge for them. They'll learn a lot from it just by talking it out. And it's good for you because if you're like me and sometimes you're like, oh, I'm really tired. I don't know if I'm going to absorb what you're saying right now. I'm at least going to attempt to listen really, really well so that person can have their moment.
And if you want to work with your partner someday, but it's not happening now, just start to think about the conversations you're going to have and start having some of them now. Present the obstacles that may meet you when you are in this line of work together. How can you start to draw those lines where you can say, hey, this is how we're going to hopefully be able to combat some of the negative things that happen. It's not going to be perfect. It's going to be negative sometimes, but here's how we can work through it. What do we know about our relationship that we can use to better how we talk to each other should we work together? Just start to have those conversations now and be realistic about it. There are things Vin and I know we can do together really well. And there are things Vin and I know we do not do together really well. Know your roles, define your roles, don't take it personal. And when you do that, you will be much more productive as a couple, and not everything will end up bringing down your personal relationship in turn. Everything we talked about, of course, at detailspodcast.com. Show notes, check them out. Get those show notes at detailspodcast.com. What an awesome episode. I personally love talking to my husband, so hopefully you enjoyed it. I loved sharing it with you. If you would like some more advice straight to your earbuds, I want to share with you some simple steps for living your best life every day. Check out my free audio training, The 7 Essential Details for Going After the Life You Want, simply by subscribing to this podcast and screenshotting it to prove it. Send that screenshot to hello@detailspodcast.com with audiogram, please, in the subject line, and we'll get it right over to you. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it as always. If you would like to discover even more actionable tips, head over to AMYTV by typing in your browser, youtube.com/AMYTV, or you can search in your YouTube app, Amy Landino. Subscribe for good vibes, kiss the ones you love, and go after the life you want. Cheers.